Everybody, it's me, Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally and further strengthen up your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant based diet going for yourself today and nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further balance out your physical body's pH level and get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity. Send me some love telepathically. Set attention to your mind and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You're now tuning in to great days. So I'm gonna talk a little bit on death, and I'm gonna go over how death is an illusion. Okay, I'm gonna break it down a little bit mathematically, equationally, and I'm gonna bring an equilibrium to the understanding of life and death, very very subtly for everybody to understand, very simply. And I'm also going to touch upon maybe transcendence of death as well. Pretty much the same thing. So let's get right into this. So death, right? Death is very, very much misunderstood nowadays when it comes to living in Maya, only because the average man's understanding of death is very, very much more so a misunderstanding more than an accurate, clarifying understanding of death. Okay. So death is not what you think because it's not what you have been taught it is. Okay, schools and institutions do not teach you correctly to begin with. They only blind you. Okay, institutions are only here to stagnate the collective progression of things. Okay, because they are part of a system of control that wants to keep us in a more dense state. And everything you learned in school is a lie to begin with. Okay. So what you want to do, if you can do this, you want to throw away or throw out everything that any type of institution has ever taught you. Okay, and learn from nature. Nature is the source of all things because nature gave way to all teaching. Okay, nature is literally the source of everything. Okay, because everything is nature. So if you want to learn the highest teachings, you got to go through nature. You got to learn from nature, and nature is once again everywhere. So the source of true education can be found within yourself. Okay, because you are nature, and the process of nature sequentially is within you. Okay, so death is an illusion. All right, it's not real. So there is only life. Okay, life is eternal. This is eternal life. This is why they speak of life as eternal in the Bible on multiple occasions. Okay, the ultimate life is eternal life. All right, and death does not actually exist. Okay, and I broke this down maybe a year ago or two in the same way, but I'm gonna do it again. Okay, because it's a very good talk. So there is only actually life. There is no death. Death does not exist. What your conceptual understanding of death also does not exist, which is why it's a wrongful teaching that has been implanted into your brain. Okay, wherever you have learned about it. Okay, so let me see. The average understanding of death usually goes as though you have some. Well, we can go through like religion, right? If you're religious, if you go through a church, the churches nowadays are telling you there may or may not be a hell, which you go to, or there's a judgment system that you go through as you die, and your soul is judged, right? And then you are then cast either into hell or heaven, depending on your morale throughout your physical existence. But there's truth in this, and there's also a lot of misunderstanding in this. Okay, the whole thing about it is that the whole idea of a heaven and hell is that there's life after death. So that's already proving that you don't actually die, you just transform, or you transcend where you're at right now into a whole different life, either in a lower or in a higher, either in a hell or in a heaven. Okay, so that already disproves that, or that already proves that death does not exist, because they're speaking of afterlife. All right, which is more life. That means that's eternally living. So which is very easy to understand. Okay, very very simple. And that's what most churches are saying right now, and that's pretty much what a lot of people are going off of, that there is whenever you die you go to like a heaven or a hell, right? But that's wrong. Okay, why is that wrong? Because for one, there's no process of death. Okay, or there is a process of inertia that comes within the system, but it's not actually what we see as death or perceive as death. Death does not exist, because life, it's equaling existence, right? As we're living, we're existing. Okay, very very simply, if you say that you're live, you can also say that you're existing, right? It's very true. So if life and death are opposites, then existence is opposite is non-existence. Okay, so that would mean then existence equals life, right? Because you're existing right now, you're alive, and the opposite of life is death. Death would then equal non-existence, because existence is the opposite of non-existence. Okay, so it's kind of just equaling out things. Life equals existence, death equals non-existence. So if death equals non-existence, then death is non-existent. Okay, that means death does not exist. All right, so there actually is no death. Very very simple to understand. There is only process of transformation, because everything is energy, everything is electromagnetic energy. Okay, consciousness. So consciousness never dies. It doesn't go through processes of death. It just transforms itself, okay, into another form. And this would mean that we never actually die. We just continue living. And this is eternal life. Life is all that exists, and death is all that non-exists. Okay, so let me see. Death does not exist. Once again, it's an illusion. Okay, now the afterlives are you can call them afterlives, but more so I would just call them life, because you're just transcending your form. Currently you're able to continue living through the process of death. So I do believe there is a process of judgment as you die. Okay, but it's been the true esoteric process of dying and judgment involved in that process, in accordance to your individuality, is only you can only see this when you are within a certain vibration. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there may be the process of judgment, and there may be a process of vibrationally fitting yourself into the next life, but that only comes with where you're currently at right now. Because it's all transference of energy. So as you go through that state, as you go through that process of becoming more inert in your vibratory rate as an energy, depending on on how you lived your current life, is where you're going to is how or where you're going to end up in the next life. But it's not really the next life, it's just a continuation of this life, and it's all just a continuation. It's not actually the next or the next after that, or a previous life. It's all just one life. Okay, this body does dissolve away and it does go inert, but this is just a transformation that occurs. I shed the body as a soul, and I conjoin once again with spirit through the process of death, okay? And that just is me continuing life on a whole different dimension, on a whole different wavelength. Okay, so there is really no death, and what we have been told about death is completely wrong. Okay, conceptually, they're programming us. They're programming imagery into us to fit in with the logical misconceptual understanding of death. So we know nothing about it. Okay, maybe unconsciously we can tap Akashic experience or the Akashic records to understand more about the true process of death and how to traverse it, but other than that, we don't know anything about it, okay? And it does not actually exist, okay? It literally equals non-existence, because life is existence, and life and death are opposites, supposedly, so death is non-existent. Okay, because existence is non-existence. All right, this is just equalizing things out. But if you take away the conception of it, it's just all a fluctuation of vibratory rate. Okay, and you don't have to fear death, because it doesn't actually happen. It doesn't actually occur in how you think it's gonna occur. It happens very, very differently. A very common example of this is overthinking something and it never actually happening. This is misconception. You're projecting something out of yourself that you have misconstrued, or have created within yourself, that is just a delusion. It's like it's like going to school and thinking that something is going to happen throughout the day, and you're very and this makes you nervous, this makes you filled with anxiety, makes you very anxious, and it makes you very, very avoidant of joy, and throughout your day you're expecting something to happen, but it never actually happens. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what they've done with death. They've just made it into a misconception, and this is causing imbalance within your system. So there's no reason to really worry about dying. There's nothing to fear about dying, because it's just a dissolving away of all that you are. It's not anything that is adding anything to you. There's no reason to be afraid of something that does not exist. It's like being afraid of delusion. You can't actually be afraid of delusion, because delusions don't actually exist. Most of the time they're just misconception, okay, or illusion, and they're illusory in their nature, which is the whole of life. So death is literally a dissolving away of all that you are currently, okay, and it's a stripping away. It's a dissolving. So there's no reason to ever be afraid of death, because it does not actually exist, and you cannot actually fear something that does not exist. Okay, that would be insanity, which is what society is. Society is insanity, which is how they have been able to program fear into you of death. Okay, which I do find very, very insane. Okay, but once again, there's no death. It's an illusion in itself, along with separation. Separation is also just a conception. Conceptions are illusion as well. Okay, conceptual reality can be dissolved away if you are able to get into the proper rhythm of breath and pull in enough prana. Okay, with enough pranayama, you can completely dissolve away or go beyond conceptual reality. And as you are able to strip away or dissolve away conceptual reality, then death as a conception vanishes, and there's no more death, only eternal now, eternal existence, eternal moment, eternal life. Okay, this is communion with God, and this is where religion originated. This is where it should all be. But once again, there's systems of control. Okay, and this is why they have entangled us so deeply within Maya. Okay, and suffering, states of suffering as well, come from misunderstanding of death. Okay, so all you really got to understand about death is that it is an illusion, because it does not actually exist. Okay, it's a stripping away, more so. It's a process of stripping away all that you are, and it's dissolving back into God. It's dissolving back into universal consciousness. It's dissolving back into your true nature as a universal being. Okay, being universal. All right, so very, very simply, death is an illusion. Don't fear it, okay, because it's never actually going to happen to you. In the way that you're thinking it is going to happen to you, because it's going to be completely different from that. It's just a deluded projection most of the time, and that is what you are fearing. Okay, you're fearing some type of eternal hell or eternal pain, or something like this. But eternal pain does not actually exist, because you can become tolerant to pain, and then it can dissolve away as conceptually being labeled as pain. So therefore it's not even, you cannot have eternal pain, and therefore there is no eternal hell. More so an expansion of awareness or transcendence of hell and even heavens. So then that would also dissolve away the conception of eternal or afterlives. Okay, then that would leave you with just with bodiless consciousness. Okay, so death is an illusion. Once again, death, the whole concept of death is part of Maya. If you're able to transcend Maya, or the illusion or the magic world, the play or the drama of society, and revert back to a holistic state of being, a holy state of being, what naturally comes is transcendence of death. Okay, and this allows you to become eternal in your nature. And this is where most of the holy figures that you are following nowadays are at currently. Okay, in a higher dimension. Okay, which is all there. Okay, it's all they're all permeating each other in a cosmic web type of divine design. Okay, so death is an illusion. Once again, you've probably heard this if you're already on the path of awakening. And simply, life is existence, death is non-existence. So death, if it's non-existence, then it's non-existent, and it's that simple. It does not exist. Okay, so nothing to ever fear about death, because you'd be fearing something that does not exist. That'd be fearing like something that does not exist. I can't go any deeper into that. It's just how it is. So what you can really be fearing is life. So and even then, life isn't something to fear either, because all of life is pretty much just space as well. 99.99999% of all matter is spacious. As you go in between the atoms, it's all space anyway. So even life does not actually really exist either. It's all just a fluctuation of light, or it's all just a fluctuation of consciousness. Consciousness and light are one and the same. So there's nothing to ever really fear about life either, because life doesn't actually even exist either. Okay, nothing exists. All right, we are non-existent, and this is the simulative nature of things. Simulations don't actually exist, and that is the illusory nature of things. And if you've ever gone into any type of philosophy, which is metaphysical in itself, then you've heard that the nature of life is illusion, because it is. It doesn't actually exist. It's just for it's for some type of entertainment on the level of Maya. If you're living in the world, it's some type of entertainment for yourself. Okay, for the totality, for the Godhead, a specific dimension of the Godhead is entertaining itself through what we want to call Maya, or the world. Okay, and beyond that, if you go away from Maya, or if you transcend it, then you'll start to understand that nothing actually does exist. And this is where that's when you actually die. You want to die before you actually die. You want to die as you're living, before you actually come to the death set in stone. You know, because if you're able to do that, then you're able to transcend the death set in stone, and then you can attain to eternal states of life. And this is what the prophets have been talking about. This is what the ancients have been talking about, sages. This is what all wise men talk about, you know, eternal life, because this is the attainable throughout this life. This is what you need to be attaining. Otherwise, you're going to be left out of the ultimate orgasm, you know, or the ultimate the peak of what can be experienced, you know. So that's going to be it for today's video. Once again, that is non-existence and death being non-existence. Death is an illusion, once again, separation as well, both conceptions and even misconceptions at that. Conceptual reality is very, very, very minute. It's very subtle, and it does not exist because it can be stripped away, you know, with enough of some practitioner that can strip away conceptual reality, you know. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Once again, make sure to drop a like, comment down, subscribe to the channel as well for more daily content. Peace out, one love, have a great afternoon.